Howdy ho, Maplers, and welcome to the final 250. At least until Kali's release, but the final one for a good while. The very last class in Maple Story for me to get to 250. It's Bowmaster. Oh boy. Dude, so many of these Explorer classes got pushed back because of Destiny and me intentionally waiting for the Destiny revamps before I played them so that the guides wouldn't be instantly outdated. And I gotta say there really aren't any that disappoint. Bowmaster being the last wasn't a slight against this class by any means. Bowmaster pretty much exceeded my expectations and met my expectations at the same time. For the gear, it's all the same Mesa accessories that I use across all of these 250s. Ever since Mechanic, I swapped from drop gear to using Mesa gear because your boy is broke 90% of the time. Mesa is needed for just about every aspect of the game, so definitely want to prioritize getting as much of that as possible. And then just the standard archer gear. My archer gear isn't too terribly strong, and to be honest, you don't need to be incredibly strong for Bowmaster. The only skill that really requires you to be very strong is Arrow Platter, and you don't necessarily need Arrow Platter for this class to be really good. And for the inner ability, as with pretty much every Hurricane class in the game, you don't need attack speed on your first line, you want to go for that boss damage 20%, since Hurricanes aren't affected by attack speed. Ideally, you'd want to get a second line of crit, since this is an archer class, you have vicious shot from your 5th job skills, you want to have as much crit as possible, so if you want to roll for your second line first, because getting 20 crit after locking your prime line is exceptionally difficult, that's an avenue for you to go. For the V Matrix, as always, it's right there. It's gonna be there on Kali in 5 months too. Decent holy symbol. Just the best gosh darn skill. I've said it 49 times at this point. If you guys ain't got the memo, I don't know what to tell you. This is the best skill in the V Matrix. Hands down. EXP, drop rate, 100% uptime, cute as fuck animation. It's decent holy symbol, baby. It's great. it's literally a no downside skill that you get almost for free. Even at level 1, this thing's great. Maxed out, even better. Throw it on ASAP. Then you might be wondering, hey, wait a minute. Erda Shower's not in the second skill or in the second slot. What's that I see there? Well, don't worry. We'll get to that. And your other staple, Erda Shower, might not be in the second slot here, but it is still in the first row. You want to put this on pretty much as soon as you hit 5th job. This skill is such an absolute game changer to how mobbing works in this game. Pretty much every class wants to throw it on immediately. Unless you're very, very dependent on your 5th job skills or your boost nodes, you throw Erda Shower on ASAP. This is the most reliable summon in the game, just hands down. Outside of like class-specific summons, this thing is the go-to. It's easy to trigger, all you gotta do is kill mobs, and hey, while you're training, you're doing that anyways. It's got a good hitbox, it's got good base damage, it's amazing. It's a whole over 100% uptime too. It's literally win-win-win. And then for the Bowmaster specific skills, we take a little gander back here. The first and most important one, and one you ideally want to max out, Storm of Arrows. The reason you want to max this out isn't for the damage, because good golly, this thing does not need more damage. You max it out because this actually gains duration with each level, up to a maximum of 70 seconds. And having this thing up for 70 seconds makes the training rotations for your V skills incredibly smooth. Like actually zero downtime on your V skills while mobbing. It's super, super nice. So if you can afford to splurge a little bit, drop some EXP nodes into this, drop some extra nodes into this if you can, this is a fantastic skill to boost right out the gate. Not so much that I'd say get it over decent holy symbol, but it is a good close second. That's why it's ahead of your Erda Shower here. This thing is very, very, very valuable to Bowmaster as both a mobbing tool and a bossing tool. Because like I said, damage This thing has in spades maxed out 1,540 damage 7 times. This skill is ridiculous, and how much damage it'll just plop down whenever it hits. It's incredible. It's so ridiculously strong. There is really no downside to this skill other than its targeting being purely RNG. You literally throw up the buff and then you just let Jesus take the wheel on this one. More often than not, it'll land in useful areas. Every now and then, it'll land where one of your other summons are. It won't really kill anything additional to your rotation, but more often than not, while I was training, this thing was always beneficial. And then your next V skill, Quiver Barrage. This is sort of supposed to be your bossing burst skill, because, I mean, all of Bowmaster's V skills are just buffs to your bossing, but it's actually really convenient as a mobbing tool as well, because the 6 flaming arrows that fly out of this thing have quite possibly the longest hover time of any mark type ability I've seen. These are the most patient arrows in existence. You can have literally every summon, every skill active, every mob in the map dying around you on spawn, and these things will just patiently wait for the one mob that doesn't instantly die, and they will all fly right to him and make sure it dies. These are such a good filler skill for your mobbing. It's actually insane how valuable this thing is to your mobbing, as well to your bossing. It's great damage, 400% damage. You get a bunch of arrows, you get an attack power buff when it starts up. It's great. Bowmaster's bossing really isn't the hardest thing to grasp in the universe. You pretty much just press all your buff keys and hold down Hurricane, but this is a special buff. It also looks really pretty, and that's got a big plus in my book. And then there are the 2 V skills that aren't super terribly important to throw on right away, but you definitely want them eventually. Inhuman Speed, I look at more as a bossing skill than a mobbing skill. You do want it for mobbing because it fits into your V skill rotation so that there's 0 downtime on having at least one of your V skill buffs active while mobbing. But of the V skills, this one definitely feels the least impactful. More often than not, unless I was hurricane farming, I never saw this really be that beneficial. Like, Silhouette Mirage was outperforming Inhuman Speed a lot of the time while I was using Hurricane as my main mobbing skill and just stacking up combos. It is nice, and it will clip the occasional mob, sort of like Quiver Barrage, but it's way less consistent at doing so. This thing is definitely, in my books, more leaned towards a bossing skill. It's nice to have to get your rotation of V skills nice and smooth, but definitely not super duper important. And then the final skill, your toggle ability, Silhouette Mirage. This thing is really nice. It's also sort of inconsistent. This and your other toggle pretty much work together to give you just even more random mobbing on top of Bowmaster's already seemingly excessive random mobbing. I've never played a class before Bowmaster that actively feels like I'm KSing myself 90% of the time while training. Like, when you're in smaller maps on Frenzied Spawn with this class, there are genuine moments where just like, you don't even need to do anything. Between Storm of Arrows, between Urda Shower, between Lucid Soul if you have her, all of your things just stacking on top of each other, you are pretty much not needed for the map to be cleared. You're just there to keep your character in combat so your summons don't stop attacking. It's both a nice feeling and a sort of depressing feeling at the same time. But that feeling goes away once you get to larger maps at higher levels, so it's all good. This is very nice. The extra arrows that they shoot out are pretty nice. This is more so like a safety feature for bossing as well. This is your safety net while bossing to make sure you don't just get instantly clapped while you're trying to put out big deeps. And then for your boost nodes, Bowmaster is pretty simple, pretty straightforward. The most important skill you want to boost right out the gate is Arrow Blaster, or Arrow Platter as I'll call it. But your 6 skills that you want to have boosted are Arrow Stream, Arrow Blaster, Gritty Gust, Final Attack, Hurricane, and Magic Arrow. There is a potential variant of these where you boost Phoenix instead of Gritty Gust, because Gritty Gust really doesn't need to be boosted for it to be a decent mobbing skill, and it's not really a primary source of bossing damage. So, you can make an argument for it, but since Grandis mobs have so much more HP, having an already high percent damage, high damage dealing ability boosted will help you out more in Grandis than Phoenix will for bossing. Although Phoenix would be better for bossing DPS. So it's really up to you which one you value more. I would say probably just get Gritty Gust though. Phoenix is nice and all, but really, he's just there for Fury of the Wild. We all know that. And then, of course, it's an archer class. You've got Guided Arrow. It's now a toggle. It's not a buff. There's no maintaining it. You turn it on, you let it fly. It does its job. It's great. It also now has normal monster damage, so it is even easier to get this thing to one-shot mobs than ever before. On top of all of the other random shit flying around on your screen, this is just another random piece of shit. It's great. It's super consistent. If it's one-shotting, it's incredible. If it's two-shotting, it's still super helpful. For bossing, it's just another bit of DPS to go on top of all of your other DPS. And as mentioned, Fury of the Wild. This is a skill I didn't really use all too much on Pathfinder and Marksman because it really didn't have too many uses. However, that kind of changed once we got to Bowmaster. Since Bowmaster has the option to farm with her Hurricane instead of using Arrow Stream to stack a Round Link a lot faster, there are genuine situations where using Fury of the Wild to clear out mobs that are behind you so that you can focus on everything that's just directly in front of you is really beneficial. As well, Fury of the Wild is a pretty strong ability for burst. It's pretty darn nice to have while you're bossing or bursting down elites, what have you. You don't necessarily need it. Like, really only big maps like PD5 require Fury of the Wild to pick up some straggler mobs, but it does feel nice to have. You can also line this up with Arrow Storm, or Storm of Arrows rather. You can line this up since their cooldowns are the same, so you can just always start your rotation of mobbing buffs with Fury of the Wild and Storm of Arrows. Feels nice. And of course, True Arachnid Reflection. You get it for completing the Will storyline. Decent bossing, decent mobbing, even more random stuff to KS yourself with. It's just, it all goes together perfectly. And since it's an archer, Vicious Shot. It's just bonus critical damage for excess crit rate. Feels really nice. And of course, your last slot. If you're in Reboot, you take the Rune Boost for EXP. If you're in Reg servers with Frenzied Spawn, character building 1 is still the best option. Oh boy. Dude, Bowmaster's mobbing actually surprised me. I was really worried coming into this class that like Arrow Platter was gonna hold me back something fierce, because with my training sets for gear for these 250s, the ones that I move between all these characters for these videos, they're not terribly strong. But it actually held up pretty good for quite a while. For 200 to 205, you have quite a few options. You've got the standard, Below the Cave, Eastern Cave Path 2. They're nice maps, good with summons, great with Urda Shower, but you also have another option. You've got the Hidden Cave with the Arma's Followers. With all of the random stuff you have flying around on your screen, this is actually a really good map for Bowmaster. On this top left, or on the top right corner rather, you just set up Arrow Platter, down jump, and then below Arrow Platter, you can set down your Urda Shower, and then you just hop, skip, and jump. Drop out Storm of Arrows, Fury of the Wild if you have it on, although at this level range I wouldn't recommend having it on, so just Storm of Arrows would work, and then you hop around and use your Arrow Stream. This is a nice map where early on you can actively use Arrow Stream as a main mobbing skill. If too many mobs are clumping up at the very top, not getting tagged by any of your millions of random flying objects going through the map, you can just toss out a Gritty Gust and that'll clear it effortlessly. Once your Fury of the Wild expires, or once you have about 30 seconds left on Storm, if you have the skill maxed out, that is when you want to start using Quiver Barrage. And then you put on Quiver Barrage, and then you'll get all of these pretty little arrows flying about, tagging mobs. These will actually get up to the very top, which is extra convenient. And then once that skill expires, then you cycle it into your final skill with Inhuman Speed, and that is your mobbing rotation. If you keep the buffs rolling like that, they will always line up with their cooldowns. So once one comes up, you use the skill. Once it goes down, you use the other skill, and rinse repeat. And that'll carry you on into Reverse City. Nice and neat. The only downside to this is if you ever miss timing on one of these, you're gonna have to wait an additional cycle to get them back on time. But that'll get you to 205 super fast. And then for 205 until 210, well, you probably saw this coming. With all the summons this class has, it's the Hidden Research Train. Once again, Urda Shower over here on this side, hop up, and this is where you'll want to place your Blink Shot so you can teleport back here. Set down Blink Shot, set down Arrow Platter, facing in towards the map. If you have it, this is a great place to put Lucid Soul right up here at the top of the map. And like before, start off with Storm of Arrows, Fear of the Wild if you have it, and this is where you're going to start Hurricane farming. Because these early level mobs have such low HP, and because Bowmaster's Hurricane is actually quite strong early game for a Hurricane, this is pretty gosh darn efficient. With all of the random stuff you have flying around on your screen, with Storm of Arrows' ridiculously high base damage, and with its really good mobbing hitboxes, there's pretty much nothing on this map that you're not going to be clearing. And since everything is getting killed one at a time, you are stacking up a Ron Link super fast. Like, I haven't had a class stack a Run Link this fast since Angelic Buster. This is mechanic levels of combo stacking. A Ron Link can genuinely be one of your greatest sources of EXP on Bowmaster, so long as you're using Hurricane as your main mobbing skill. It's pretty ridiculous how fast you can stack up your combo. And this is really nice and easy. Once you need to replace your summons, you just teleport back, hold down your Arrow Platter, replace it, drop down, set down Urda Shower, and then just flash jump your way back towards the center. One neat trick that I didn't learn until embarrassingly late into Bowmaster, if you hold down and recast Blink Shot to reposition it, it also fully refreshes its duration. I did not know that for a long time in this class, so I made a lot of my rotations solely around replacing summons. So I had an unnecessary restriction on my mobbing capabilities, but it actually led to some pretty good rotations for Bowmaster as far as kill rate goes. And you can stay there all the way until 215 if you want to, then just skip right into Yum Yum Island. But I would highly recommend, at 210, hop over to Choo Choo Island for a map I know none of you are gonna see coming. Sky Whale 2. This map is practically handcrafted for Bowmaster. The only requirement for this map is that your Arrow Platter be able to kill mobs. Set down Arrow Platter on this far corner, lock it in place for the summon, hop over on top of here, set down your Urda Shower, and then you will just be standing up here on the top. As always, keep your skills cycling. You want to set down Blink Shot with you up on this top platform to make getting back up here even quicker, and then just you hop and Hurricane back and forth. I noticed I don't have my guided arrow on. I'm griefing. But yeah, make sure all of your toggles are on with this class. Make sure you also have magic arrows on. You definitely don't want to be training with your lifesteal arrows on. Who would do that? But yep, same strategy as always. Once your summons start to fall down, just go and replace them. Once your Fury of the Wild expires, or you have 30 seconds left on Storm, then you use Quiver Barrage. Then once Quiver Barrage ends, you use Inhuman Speed, rinse, repeat. This rotation is really nice. You just ride the flume down, replace your Arrow Platter, hop over. While you're hopping over, your pets will loot these platforms. Set down your Urda Shower again, loot this bottom platform, and then just, by golly, teleport right back to the top. Make sure you replace Blink Shot so it doesn't ever expire on you. And my god, this map is redonkulously good. The last time I legitimately used this map was right before it got revamped, and I was very, very depressed in the Wild Hunter training guide that I couldn't recommend it then because the map was really good back then too. It just required a specific type of class to mob it. Legitimately, 750 mobs per minute is a sustainable kill rate in that map. It's really, really good. Like, that is good enough to get you all the way to Arcana if you want. Like, the EXP rates you can pull out of that map are crazy, crazy good. And it has a very nice rotation. I know the Sky-Aweo maps get overlooked or just completely ignored by a large portion of this community, but by god, dude, there's some juicy kill rates to get out of these maps. Especially for Bowmaster, I cannot recommend it enough. But of course, if you like the standard stuff, if you like easier rotations, if you really just can't stand the Sky-Whale maps, 215 until 220, it's the classic. It's the Hidden Iliad field. This map is ridiculously easy. It's another map where if you're strong enough, you want to be Hurricane farming it. Your summon rotation here is a little bit different. You want to be setting your Urda Shower on this right corner in the middle. Its hitbox is big enough that it'll hit every platform around it. Then you just want to jump and use your covering fire to push you back. Where you land, set down your Arrow Platter. That'll pretty much go all the way to the left. If you have it, Lucid Soul is really convenient here because there are two mobs on that top platform Arrow Platter cannot get, and she will aggro them to come in range. And then you just stand on the bottom here and jump and Hurricane left and right. You really don't even need to cycle your 5th job skills here. It's overkill to the extreme. Just your toggles, just your summons, and Hurricane are pretty much enough to clear this. But of course, everything's better in excess, right? Just always keep cycling your 5th job skills. It's good to get into the habit of doing it so you don't ever forget to do it while mobbing. And they just make life even easier, especially while you're doing your loot cycles. They make life real easy when you're going around to do your loot cycles to replace your summons. This map's real easy because one quick jump and covering fire puts you back in position to replace this. Jump in covering fire, perfect position to place this, and then you just flash jump through, loot the top platform, set your Lucid Soul, jump up, loot the middle platform if you have to, or if you have a vac pet, just walk along the bottom. Hidden Iliad Field's goated. It's a great map. Everyone knows it. The map has really good kill rate, has really good base EXP, has pretty fair HP on the mobs for them being level 220. It's all around a great map. And for Bowmaster, that's no exception. It's really good. And that'll get you on into Lachlan super, super quick. For Lachlan, for 220 until 230. Or honestly, you could probably stay here until 235, because this map is, again, ridiculously good. Occupied Dance Floor 2 with the red dancing shoes. Now there is a small problem with this map, in that there is a bug with Arrow Platter. Well, we'll get to that. For your summons, if you have her, Lucid Soul on this bottom platform. She's not terribly important, that's why she goes on the bottom. Urda Shower up here. Jump and use covering fire, and then set your Arrow Platter. With the placed platter, there is a bug. If mobs are too short, it will not deal damage to them. I don't know how this made it through the Destiny playtest. I don't know how this is still a bug now. But yeah, if you pay attention to that top platform, you will see the arrows disappearing from platter. They are hitting the mobs, but they are not doing damage to the mobs. For whatever reason, mobs with too small of a hitbox just don't get the damage dealt portion. And it's inconsistent. Occasionally, it'll be just fine. It'll kill the mobs like it's supposed to. Everything will be nice and neat. But a lot of this rotation is just going to be RNG because of this annoying bug. The wild thing is, though, this map can still pull 36,000 kills per hour with a bugged summon. So just imagine for a second if Arrow Platter actually worked, you'd be pumping almost 40k mobs an hour in Lachlan. Like, actually mechanic tier mobbing. The fact that even with a bugged summon, that map is the best map for Bowmaster in the level range. Really tells you something about how strong the Occupied Dance Floor 2 really is. It's fantastic. You can overlook the bugged summon, which, to be fair, isn't that bad since it is your weakest summon. You can work around it by cycling your other V skills to cover up for it, but if you can look over it, that map will get you into Arcana super fast. It will even carry you to Asphera if you want to stay there because you're just like not strong enough to transition to Arcana right away. 10 out of 10 map. Highly, highly recommend it. And then for 230 until 243, we're back to a classic. It is LP1, the lower path. This map feels really, really good for Bowmaster, primarily because of Urda Shower. It covers up a lot of the inconsistencies this map would have otherwise for Bowmaster. Here on this middle platform is where you want to set your Urda Shower. If you set it down here, its hitbox is not tall enough to hit the mobs on top, so you always want to set it down on this platform. Ideally somewhere towards the left side so it's clearing more mobs inside of the map while still being able to hit everything on the outside. Set down your Urda Shower, hop in covering fire away, set down your Arrow Platter, make sure Frenzied Spawn is out, of course, while you're training. If you have it, Lucid Soul over here, once again, just like in the Hidden Milliard field, it is just there to aggro mobs on the far left side of the map into Arrow Platter's range, and you stand below Arrow Platter and Hurricane in the same direction. This is where I would say put on Fury of the Wild if you have the slot, because since you're not attacking behind you, and since Urda Shower is literally holding the other side of the map by itself, occasionally it'll leave some stragglers behind. And Fury of the Wild is fantastic at picking up stragglers. Once again, like all your rotations, once Fury of the Wild expires, once your Storm of Arrows is down to like 30 seconds left on the duration, then you want to switch on to Quiver Barrage, go back to holding down your Hurricane, make sure Lucid Soul's up at all times. One fantastic thing to note, if you're using Fury of the Wild, it will always reset the duration of your Phoenix, so you won't have to worry about rebuffing it ever. And once you need to replace your summons, just walk right through, place all your summons. While you're placing your summons, you're full looting the map. Win-win. Work in your loot cycle with your summon rotation, replace Lucid Soul as the final one, walk your way back to the middle holding the Hurricane, resume the position, Hurricane to the left, big EXP coming your way. And again, just like with Storm of Arrows, once Quiver Barrage is coming to an end, using Human Speed, go back to holding down Hurricane, let the other V skill fill in the gaps, pick up the mobs that you're not going to be hitting yourself. It's just great. This map has a perfect rotation, both for looting, both for mobbing, has fantastic kill rates, and very, very easily in the 36k per hour range. The only thing is, since these mobs are a bit higher level, a bit higher arcane power requiring, unless you have a couple weeks of dailies under your belt for your arcane force, you're gonna need to be fairly funded for Arrow Platter. But if you're taking it nice and slow, you're leveling at your pace, this map is great. You're gonna have the damage for Arrow Platter to at the very least 2-shot fairly quickly. All you need is 540 arcane force, which only takes about 3 weeks of dailies once you get into Arcana. Nice and neat, perfect. That map honestly can carry you all the way to 250. I would highly recommend it too, because later rotations do lean fairly heavily on your Arrow Platter actually needing to do damage, especially in the Celis areas. But we do have one nice final map in Celis for 243 until 250. One map that doesn't rely on Arrow Platter to do damage because, yeah, my Arrow Platter doesn't do enough damage. But we got a good option here. Plunging Depths 5. We don't need Arrow Platter. We've got Urda Shower. Once again, just like with other classes, this is pretty much a splashable map for literally every class in the game. It's nice for Bowmaster. On this far left corner, set down your Arrow Platter, lock the summon in place, set down your Blink Shot, drop down, set down Urda Shower. If you have her, hop over and set down Lucid Soul, once again, to pull mobs into your your Arrow Platter's range, and then just like every map before it, you want to start cycling your V-skills. Since this map is significantly larger than the other training areas, you're not really going to be hurricane farming here. This is where you're going to start using Arrow Stream as your main mobbing skill again. And by golly, it feels great, especially with Fury of the Wild up, you're pretty much just going to full clear everything down here. As always, you want to prioritize clearing this platform directly below Erda Shower so that all of its mobbing count is focused on the two topmost platforms, because those are the ones you're not actively hitting. So if you can help it out in that way, it makes your clear even more efficient, but it's not something you need to terribly focus on. With as many mobs as that are jam-packed in this map, you're never really going to have any downtime on your Erda Shower triggers. This thing is pretty much going to be firing non-stop while it's up in here. When you need to replace your summons, teleport back up, set down one, replace your teleports so that it doesn't ever go off cooldown for you, drop down, Erda Shower, double covering fire to get over to the left, set down your Lucid Soul, hop down. While you're looting these platforms, you can use Hurricane because it will occasionally aim downwards, or your magic arrows from your toggle are going to get down there to mob, and it just makes it nice and easy for you to loot, and then just resume your rotation. It is fairly awkward if you're focusing on replacing your summons and keeping up your mob kills while you're doing it. You will eventually get your skills desynced for your V skills, but it's not too bad because, like I said at the start, Inhuman Speed really isn't the most important one. It's kinda just Storm of Arrows and your Quiver Barrage. So if they ever get out of sync, just use your Inhuman Speed, wait for them to be fully off cooldown, and then just restart your cycle anew. Makes it feel nice and neat, and it really isn't going to be any less kills per hour than if you kept them up perfectly 100% of the time. It just makes mobbing a little more convenient, require a little less attention rather, and it feels really, really good. And that'll carry you on to 250 easy peasy. Pretty much every class in the game can get like above 34k mobs per hour in that map. It's just great. With Erda Shower, that is pretty much a staple map for anyone. Bad mobbers, good mobbers alike, it's a great map. It feels good to loot, it has a good rotation, and Erda Shower can literally carry over half the map. Who wouldn't like that? But that was pretty much the mobbing for Bowmaster. It really wasn't platter dependent as much as I thought it would be. I was really worried, especially pre-Destiny, I was really worried about Bowmaster because I'm like, alright, my Bowmaster or my bowman gear really isn't that strong. I mean, my bow's pretty nice, but like everything else is a little less than desired, right? But Destiny really did this class some justice. It feels super, super nice. It's by all means, beginner friendly now, even in the mobbing department. Sure, Arrow Platter's placeable summons damage is still fairly low, but you're not dependent on it anymore. With all of your toggles, with all of your 5th job skill cycling, with Fury of the Wild, with everything on, you really don't need Arrow Platter to be killing mobs by itself anymore. You can stack it up with Lucid Soul, you can stack it up with your will skill as well if you wanted to, just to give it some extra aid, and then have your actual strong abilities clearing a majority of the map. It feels really good, like surprisingly good for the final class of these 250s. I really ended on a fairly high note that I wasn't expecting. Bowmaster after Destiny is honestly all around really, really good. I think people only look down on it because it's a Hurricane class in an attack speed 0 meta. By all means, Bowmaster is really good right now. It is sort of strange that all of their V skills are buff skills, like not having a single attacking skill. Like you have 3 buffs and a toggle. That's your 5th job. That is strange. I'm hoping for 5th V they actually get a proper burst ability, because right now their burst, quote unquote, is just literally using all of your buffs together and holding down Hurricane. Which, while you do a lot of damage doing that, it doesn't really feel like a proper burst. Where's my Urkalas for Bowmaster? I want something that packs a legitimate punch on a decent cooldown that actually makes it feel like there's a solid burst behind this class. But really, It's not missing anything. It's very mobile with your covering fire being an extension to your up jump, being an extension to your flash jump, effectively working like a secondary flash jump. This class is very mobile. It's very smooth at moving too. Like, as you notice from my rotations, just using covering fire, kind of like the grenades for Cadena, because it has a fixed distance to it, you can use its forced mobility a lot to position yourself for rotations, for replacing summons, for making the gap between platforms, for just getting anywhere you need to. It feels really good. You can also up jump out of it. If I didn't grab the rope, oh my god, rope please. You can also up jump out of it to get even farther away, or to just get a little bit of extra height to get to a platform that would be out of your reach otherwise, or would just take longer to just straight up jump to. The mobility for this class does feel really, really nice. For the bossing side of things, it is pretty simple. Like I said, you literally just press all of your buff keys and hold down Hurricane in the direction of the baddie. Like, it doesn't get more straightforward than Bowmaster when it comes to bossing. You literally just hit the enemy with your buffs. There's no hard cooldowns to watch. There's no precise attack timings. No awkward buff cooldowns to cycle. Everything's nice and neat with like 90 or 120-second cooldowns. You can always just sync everything up. It's very beginner friendly. Especially with your V skill for the Silhouette Mirage, it's exceptionally beginner friendly because one mistake isn't going to be the end of you. Like, it's not so insanely beginner friendly like having 10 Breath of Divinities with the swag scooter for Jet, but it is very, very nice as an intro level bosser, or as like a very efficient bossing mule for people who are trying to set those up for their account. Bowmaster is a fantastic bossing mule, possibly one of the best, especially for Hurricane classes. I think the only thing that would be better than Bowmaster is Mercedes. But that's more so because Mercedes is more of a combo class nowadays. You don't really use Ishtar's Ring all that much. But Bowmaster is definitely overlooked a little bit. This class is very, very strong. But like, there are some grievances for me. Only one that really matters, and that's Arrow Platter. It feels like shit. Not the damage, I mean the skill itself. Placing it is the most inconsistent summon in the game. Like, there are times where I'll press Arrow Platter for like a fraction of a second, press NPC chat, and it'll place. Nice. It'll be smooth. Great. And then the next time I go to replace it, I'll hold the fucking skill for 10 seconds, spamming NPC chat like my life depended on it, and it still wouldn't place it. It still wouldn't get the memo. I hate the skill so much because it's so unreliable. Like, legitimately, who cares about the toggle for switching between NPC chat or your attack key? I don't care about that. Give me a toggle that makes it so when I press the key, it just sets the summon. Because I understand the reason you don't just always get the summon is because you can aim it, but you don't need to aim it, ever. The only time you actively aim Arrow Platter is when you're doing the Giga Lazy rotations, where it's just Platter plus Urna Shower clearing like CLP tier maps. You don't need to aim the summon, ever, for it to be super, super good. So I wish there was an option, instead of changing between the attack and NPC chat key, to just lock it so that it always sets the summon first, because right now it is probably the worst feeling summon in the game as far as consistency goes, because you just never know how many times do you have to mash NPC chat before it's actually going to be on the ground. 5 times? 15 times? Fucking 20 times? Who knows? You just gotta mash and pray. It's so dumb. I hate it. But that's really my only problem with this class. I actually thought I would dislike Bowmaster more than I ended up disliking it, but on a whole, this is a very positive experience. I'm pretty positive in saying that the Destiny update was a stellar success. There is no Explorer that I've played yet that has been bad. Everything about Destiny has been so good, and Bowmaster is just another shining example of that. They really knocked it out of the park with this. It's a great class. It's definitely underplayed because of the attack speed 0 meta making Hurricane classes a lot worse than they actually are. So hopefully this is a a good kick in the pants to anyone on the fence about playing Bowmaster. Give it a shot, at the very least. Like I said, this is a fantastic bossing mule. It's very beginner friendly. A single mistake is not going to be the end of you. With your illusion, you pretty much have 2 get out of jail free cards. Its mobbing is great, very straightforward. Its bossing is probably the most straightforward in the game. And it feels good. The Hurricane is also really nice. It's not jet levels of consistent, like you can't start it mid flash jump animation, but it still feels really smooth. On a whole, Bowmaster is fantastic. This is definitely an archer class that I can see myself coming back to. It just feels good to play, outside of Arrow Platter. But that's pretty much been Bowmaster. I definitely recommend it. But this is the last class, dude. At least until Kali's release, this is it. I have now gotten through every single class. I have a training guide showing off how I leveled every single class to 250. Sure, some of them are outdated now, but that was never really the point of them. These are more so just like a showcase of how I got here. And it's weird actually being at the finish line. Dude, some sentimental sappy stuff here at the end. Like after all this time, I still have to say like a massive thank you to Jackie, Andrew, and Tiffy. Although some of you might not hear this, you three were definitely a major factor in me sticking it out through the growing pains of restarting in Vera after coming over from Reboot. I can fairly confidently say that I would not be here without you three, and for that I am so incredibly grateful. Like those early streams, before literally any of the people watching these YouTube videos or who know my streams now, those early streams, when I actually streamed with a face cam, the ones that you guys were a part of, they were definitely some of my fondest memories playing this game. I am eternally grateful for how much fun you guys made the early stages of Bara for me. And of course, to everyone who is watching these now, who didn't know about those really early streams, I'm super grateful. Like through all of your ceaseless support and kind words, you've made this journey something that I cherish dearly. This isn't a job for me, like literally, this is just a passion project. I just really like MapleStory, dude. I'm like #1 fan status. I'd be playing this game with or without the YouTube channel, but I'm overjoyed that I was able to share a little bit of this journey with all of you. And I'm even happier that it seems like a lot of you like this. And I'm very, very thankful. But this'll be the last training guide for a while. Until Kali's released in summer, this is it. The final one. I have every class in MapleStory at 250. I'm the only person in the world, at least for a good while. It's a fucking weird feeling. So, thank you guys. Seriously, thank you. I hope you enjoyed this video, as with all the videos. But until Kali's release, I'll see you guys around.